Join me now in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call Captain Chester Sampson for our invocation. This is the day that the Lord has made, and let us rejoice and be glad in it. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we come to you this day, we give you honor, glory, and praise, dear God. And we thank you, dear God, for this great city, dear God. We thank you, dear God, for your presence, dear God, how you watched over us, dear God, in the years past, dear God. Knowing, dear God, that you're still going to watch over us in the future, Father. We thank you, dear God, for these 15 young men, dear God, that you have called for their profession, dear God, to be firefighters, dear God. And we truly thank you for them. We thank you, dear God, for our administration, dear God. And we give you all honor, dear God. We give you glory, dear God. And we praise your mighty name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. My name is Freddie Lynn. I am the training chief of Raleigh Fire Department, and on behalf of the fire department, I'd like to welcome each of you to our graduation ceremony for our group in our first academy to graduate this year. They worked real hard. They started November the 6th, and they've been through quite a bit. The weather hasn't cooperated with us very much, and we've had a lot of cold weather, and the coldest month of the in recent history, so they've had to endure that. This group here started out Certified Firefighter 2 and EMT. We actually hired 44 people in November. The first 2 weeks, they all went through the same orientation training, and then we split them into two groups, so we actually started with two academies. The 15 here are graduating today. The rest of them are in the back on each side, and they will graduate the first week in May. So we had them here to observe so they can kind of wish this is what they're going to be doing. So these guys here have worked real hard. The last 2 weeks have been extremely strenuous. We spent a week at the Wake County Training Center, and we've spent this week, we burned three houses in 2 days. And most of the time, the water was freezing on the ground by the time we got through with it. So they've had a tough week, but they're ready to go. And actually, we're ready to get rid of them because 44 people in our facility is way, way too many. So we had them crammed in one classroom, and they couldn't even breathe. So now we're going to get back to the business of training the rest of them. So these guys go on shift Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week. Chief Woodall couldn't be with us today, but he's already given them their assignments, so they're anxious to go, and we're going to get rid of them today so we can get on with business. It was funny, we were doing the house burn, I think it was Wednesday, and one of them came up to me and said, Chief, do you remember the days when you fought fire without an air pack on? And he thought I might appreciate this. I guess he thought I was old or something, because everybody in there fights fire with air packs on. But in the old days, the volunteer department I was on had 2 air packs for 25 people, and we had about 2 per company here. So the only ones that wore air packs were the sissies. So if you wore an air pack, somebody talked ugly about you. So I told him about that, and he says, well, his grandfather explained it how it used to be to him, so I don't know whether he thought I was old enough to be his grandfather or not, but made me feel real good. This training session has been a group effort. I have one of the finest training staffs that you can put together, and I'd like to introduce them to you now. I'm sorry, I forgot to dismiss the honor guard. thank the members of the Honor Guard for being here today, and most of them are off duty today and come in for these type of occasions. First, I'd like to introduce Ms. Kathy Boone. For those of you who have called the training center, that sweet, kind voice who never gets upset and answers the phone all the time, this is who she is. She puts up with the five of us and all these people on the operations division coming in all the time, and she never gets upset and never gets mad about anything, and I don't know how she does it because I can't hardly put up with me myself. So this is Ms. Boone, and she's the one that you've been talking to, and she's the one that keeps all of us halfway sane. On the front row, Captain Alan Wilson is our EMT coordinator. He is responsible for not only the EMT portion of the academy, and the guys in the back here have just finished 6 weeks of intense training with Captain Wilson, and they're going to test next weekend. But his responsibility is our EMT program, not only the recruits, but for the over 400 line personnel, he has to keep up with their recertification every 4 years, and everybody's at different dates, so he has quite a responsibility. And when he gets through with all that, he likes to go help us burn houses. I think part of that was relief of getting out of that classroom after 6 weeks. So this is Captain Wilson. He's also a paramedic and helps us in all these other programs too. Over here, Lieutenant Andy Lane is in charge of the academy. This year, starting with this many people, he had 2 academies to run at the same time. So he does all that. He's a live burn instructor, teaches in the academy, and anything else that comes along, he helps out. So Lieutenant Lane has had a big responsibility this year. Captain Mike Cooper is in charge of the technical rescue program and the driver-operator program for our fire department. He is a paramedic. He teaches all the basic rescue technician classes, the firefighter 1 and 2, live burn instructor, and driver-operator instructor, and can do most anything that is asked of him. And these are the type of people that keep me from going crazy. Captain A.C. Rich is in charge of our hazmat program. He teaches the hazmat team training and has to keep up with that. And like Captain Wilson, he has to keep up certification for all of our personnel on the hazmat certification. So he has quite a responsibility in their recertification, and he teaches all the firefighter 1 and 2 things, driver operator, and he also is a live burn instructor. So with people like this, I can't do anything but look good. When we found out that we were going to hire 44 people this year, I went whining to the fire chief and told him I didn't have enough staff. We were trying to do some more things, and I had an idea that we would get a couple of instructors off each shift to come in and help us through the academy and see if we couldn't keep our head above water. And after a while, the fire chief finally gave in. I think it's like a little child. If you holler enough, your daddy will give in to you. So he allowed me to get a couple of instructors off each shift. And I'd like to introduce them to you now. They have saved us this year because we've just finished one group. We're getting ready to start the other, and it's quite a bit of work. Over here on the front row, firefighter Chris Wilson and firefighter Steve Holloman are from A shift. And Lieutenant Frankie Hobson. And we have Billy Stanfield, who could not be here today, from C shift. And Darrell Adams and Todd Gautier from B shift have been down. And these guys do double duty. Now, they come to work at 8 o'clock at the training center. Somewhere around 5 or whenever we get through, they go back to the fire station and finish their 24-hour shift. So if we work them to death all day and they stay up all night fighting fire, they have quite of a day too. So thank you. Now I'd like to introduce our Fire Chief, Earl Fowler, to introduce his staff and our guest speaker.
Thank you, Chief Lynn. And I too want to congratulate the training staff, and I agree with Chief Lynn that this is probably one of the best training staffs that you'll find. I tell Ms. Carter all the time that they're so smart they scare me. I know a lot of folks here can appreciate that. Also want to recognize a few people in the audience that we have here. We're very fortunate to have Mayor Paula Coble, our mayor, here today, and some of the council people, Councilman West, Councilor Kirkman, and Councilor Grawl. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. There's a lot of pride in this audience today, and I know you should be proud for completing this several weeks of training and intense training that I know it was. And the families are proud, and we're proud of it. Just to reflect back, last December, 13 months ago, Ms. Carter and I were at another graduation, and it was December the 3rd, 1999. And that was the same day and that night when 6 firefighters died in Worcester, Massachusetts. And that, it still haunts us to this day. And last August, I had the opportunity to go to a conference that the fire chief and the state fire marshal from Worcester were there, and they put on a presentation. And there weren't hundreds, but there were thousands of people, and it was in the Reunion Arena in Dallas, Texas. And when they got through, there wasn't a dry eye in the place. And I tell you this because the job that these young men are getting ready to undertake is a very dangerous job, and they need your support, for the wives and families of the people here. Support them when they come home. If they've been up all night, support them. And I can tell you right now, part of the reason that I'm standing here right now is the support that I had of my family, understanding that, sometimes you're out all night. So please remember that when they come home tired on a morning and you wanted to clean the house or paint a bedroom or something like that. So think about that. It's my pleasure right now to introduce our guest speaker. And I've introduced her before at some of the graduation ceremonies we've had. And she has been with the city, Miss Carolyn Carter, since 1984. And she's been our assistant manager for operations. But now she's wearing two hats. She is also our acting city manager in the absence of our city manager. So she is doing two jobs right now. And I know it's very taxing on her time, and we really appreciate her coming here today to help us with this. Before coming to Raleigh, she was assistant city manager in Durham and also held other positions in management analyst and budget. She's a member of the International City Managers Association since 1980 and a member of their board of directors currently from 2000 to 2003. And vice president of the Southeast region of the International City Managers Association. She's been president of the North Carolina City and County Management Association from 92 to 93. And she's involved in many civic and other activities, one of them being she was on the chair of the Civic Education Committee for that association. Been president of the University of North Carolina Chapel Hill MPA Alumni Association and municipal representative in North Carolina 911 Wireless Board from 1999 until today. She graduated from Meredith College, Wake Forest, and the University of North Carolina. So when Wake Forest and UNC play here real soon, she won't lose. She's married to Leonard Green and has two children, Sarah 15 and Willis 12. Currently, she is a member of Hayes Barton United Methodist Church, where she used to be a Sunday school teacher and helped start a Sunday school class on theology and contemporary literature. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Carolyn Carter.
Chief, thank you for that introduction. That was a pretty extensive introduction, and I do think you left out, I got a couple of perfect attendance Sunday school pins somewhere along the line you left out. Let me say good afternoon to all and Happy New Year. Especially to those of you who have worked so very hard in the Academy to get to this very, very proud day. And also to those of you who are friends and family members of these firefighters. I hope you know how much your support has meant and will continue to mean throughout their careers. I also want to say greetings to those of you all who will be graduating in May, and we look forward to that proud day. You have indeed chosen a profession of great honor, and it is in your honor that I have chosen to wear red today. One of my favorite quotations that I heard years ago is from the distinguished Albert Schweitzer, who said, "Those of you who will be the happiest are those who have sought and found how to serve." I believe strongly, very strongly, in the dignity and worth of public service. I take great pride in working for the City of Raleigh, and I hope that you will as well. I take particular pride in my association with the Raleigh Fire Department. I can give you some examples of the reason I take such pride in the Raleigh Fire Department. And let me read you some excerpts from letters we received concerning a recent fire. Dear Editor and Fire Department, last evening as I sat in my townhouse in the Hampshire Place complex, I continually kept hearing the sounds of sirens and air horns. Finally, I told the person on the other end of the phone, either the fire department is at the shopping center next door, or they're in my complex, and either way, I have to go take a look. As I walked out of my building, I stood there in amazement. A unit in the next building was on fire, and the following events I have no words to accurately describe. As many of us take for granted, the events were orchestrated immaculately. They came, they saw, they contained, and they did it all with grace and elegance. As I went about my day as a sales representative, I retold the events over and over, every time making the Raleigh Fire Department's response more magnificent than previously. It is all too frequent that we take the men and women of our public service too much for granted. The fire department, the police department, and all the other agencies that I am sure were involved in this event performed flawlessly. I realize that they train relentlessly for just these occasions. However, we, the daily recipients of this service, take it entirely too lightly and for granted. Godspeed to all the men and women who serve our community. Signed, T.K. Miller. And another, Dear Chief Fowler, Monday night, December the 18th, as I turned the corner of Creedmoor and Strickland Roads, all I could see were flames lighting up the sky. I completely freaked out thinking that it was my home on fire. Fortunately, it was not. Sadly, it was my neighbor's home. I want to thank all of you for the tremendous job you did. You were professional, prompt, and caring. I am simply amazed at the lengths you went to protect the property of my neighbor in the downstairs unit, and warmed by the caring you showed after the fire by retrieving items for my neighbor that held special memories for her. I appreciate your courteousness to all us gawking onlookers that I'm sure were in your way. I thank you for protecting my home. I have told everybody that will listen about your actions that night. I will continue to praise you, and I am certainly more secure knowing what a fine department we have. Sincerely, Shelley Height, Providence Square Townhomes. And those are the kinds of things that will be said about you in the future. You all are the ones who intentionally go into burning buildings. Take good care of yourselves as you go about your work. Working safely is one of our highest priorities, and I am quite sure that those in the audience who have come to support you today would chime in with a loud amen about the importance of you working safely. I hope you take pride in your work and that your work will be a source of fulfillment and satisfaction to you. And now I realize that I'm standing between you and receiving your badge, so I'll end by saying, take good care, and remember to either reel out more hose or get closer to the fire. Thank you.
Fire department training staff has got a lot of work to do. They can't do it all by themselves, and there are a couple other people I'd like to recognize. Throughout the hiring process, it takes a lot of people throughout the city. I'd like to recognize Dr. David Rant, back in the back, Assistant Personnel Director, for all the personnel department's cooperation. They save us a lot in the hiring process. Also over here on this side, Assistant Chief Phil Woodliff is our Chief of Services. He is the one that we go to get anything we want. He's in charge of everything, I believe, from clothes to toilet paper to shoes to turnout gear to everything. It all comes under him, all the fire trucks, and he has a tremendous responsibility, and we thank him for all he does for us, getting us what we need to do our job. Two other assistant chiefs are out of town. Chief Woodall is our chief of operations. He is in charge of all the suppression personnel. And Chief Stanford, Larry Stanford, is our fire marshal, and they're both out of town today, so they cannot be with us. I'd like to introduce now Lieutenant Andy Lane for the recognition of the class valedictorian.
This award we give out each academy, and it's given to the recruit that has the highest grade point average at the end of the academy. This academy was approximately 8 to 9 weeks long. It wasn't a long time to form or mess up your GPA. If you didn't stick with it, you found yourself behind real quick. These guys, they came into it certified. Some of them came in knowing already. Some of them came in wanting to learn. They formed together and realized that where they come from, although it was a good way of doing things, we have our own way in Raleigh, and we try to teach that to them. And because of where they come from, they had that experience of learning and training and learning the new way to do it. Along with this award, I'd also like to emphasize, as long as academics, the need for continuing education. We're going into an era now where if you don't have an education, then you're going to get left behind. Personally speaking, I'm playing catch up right now. So it's a personal challenge to each and every one of you. I'd like for you to continue on and keep striving forward to meet your personal goals and the goals that we expect of you. They don't know who's going to receive this award today. I've given them 3 names. We've done it a little different this year, so when the name is called out, it'll be a surprise to them as we will to much of you. So without further ado, the valedictorian for the Raleigh Fire Academy, January 2001, goes to Kurt Christopher Sorensen.
Thank you. It's a great honor. Several months ago, everyone in this academy had a difficult decision to make. That decision was whether or not to apply for the position of firefighter with the Raleigh Fire Department. I'm sorry, just close you. All of us had careers with other fire departments. Many had invested several years in these departments. Applying with the Raleigh Fire Department meant starting over from scratch, passing a rigorous physical agility test, and also completing a recruit academy, and again, for some, a cut in pay. So, why did all of us put ourselves and our families through this? Because we didn't want to be second best. Because we wanted to work for the most respected city and fire department in the state. We wanted to serve the capital city of North Carolina. And the list can go on and on. Standing here today, I know we all made the right decision. And I'd like to thank everyone that helped us to get to this point in our new career. Thank you. And that's it.
Now I'd like to call on Captain A.C. Rich for the award of diplomas.
Franklin Downing Black III. David Alexander Bertram. Matthew Wyatt Chestnut. Todd Allen Glover. Keith Patrick Curtin. Curtis Wayne Norwood. Patrick Taylor Overton. Bradley Stephen Phipps. Jason Thomas Ramsey. Frank Joseph Rousseau. Terry Wayne Schlink. Benjamin Gary Shook. Kirk Christopher Sorensen. David Allen Stanton. Charles Christopher Sutton.
We're now going to have our badge pinning ceremony. Each candidate will be called up here and given a badge, and they will introduce who's going to pin the badge on. And when they get in place, you'll be able to take all the pictures you want. So if you'll just hold that to the end, and you can come up here, and we'll just get out of the way and let you take all the pictures, and we'll complete the ceremony after that. Captain Cooper is going to help me with this. Franklin Downey Black III.
My wife, Rebecca, is being my badge.
David Alexander Burcham.
My mom, Janice, will be getting my badge.
Matthew White Chestnut.
My stepfather, Ken, will be getting my badge.
Todd Allen Glover.
My father, William, will be getting my badge.
Keith Patrick Curtin.
My wife Allison fitting my badge.
Curtis Wayne Norwood.
My friend Sheridan will be pinning my badge.
Patrick Taylor Overton.
My brother Zeb will be pinning my badge.
Bradley Stephen Fitz.
Wife Kyle will be pinning my badge.
Jason Thomas Ramsey.
My father, Bill, will be pinning my badge.
Frank Joseph Russo.
My wife Christine will be pinning my badge.
Terry Wayne Schlink.
My wife David will be pinning my badge.
Benjamin Gary Shook.
My wife Jennifer will be pinning my badge.
Kurt Christopher Sorensen.
Mother Barbara will be paying my badge.
David Allen Stanton.
My mother Gail will be pinning my badge.
Charles Christopher Sutton.
My wife Krista will be pinning my badge.
You now pin the badges. I'll get out of the way.
More pictures? Ask the families to come on down for a few minutes and we'll get them back to you in just a minute.
All right, we'll call on Fire Chief Earl Fowler to administer the oath.
mission and goals of the Raleigh Fire Department,
mission and goals of the Raleigh Fire Department,
and faithfully perform to the best of my ability
and faithfully perform to the best of my ability
the duties of the position of Lieutenant Lieutenant.
the duties of the position of Lieutenant.
Congratulations.
Immediately following the ceremony, there will be a reception held at Keeter Training Center, and we invite every one of you to come by and mingle, meet everyone, and we'll be through with the evening. I'd like to call on Chester Sampson to close our ceremony, and then Lieutenant Lane will dismiss the class.
Heavenly Father, as we come to you this time, dear God, before we leave this building, dear God, we ask your petition, we petition you on behalf of these young men, dear God. We ask for your protection, dear God, over their lives, dear God, as they go out, dear God, to save lives and property, dear God. We ask, dear God, that you go before them, dear God. We ask that you keep your hands upon them, dear God. We ask, dear God, that you just cover them in your blood, dear God. And Father, we ask peace over their family, dear God, as they sleep at home, as these young men work, dear God, for the protection of others, dear God. We ask that you give their families, dear God, sweet sleep, dear God. Let them know that they're in your hands, Father, and they will be taken care of. In smoke-filled buildings, dear God, with fire all around them, dear God, you will be there with them, dear God, protecting them, dear God. And we thank you, dear God, again for the way you have protected firefighters in this city, dear God. Oh, dear God, we thank you, dear God, for we have not lost a life, dear God, in a building, dear God. We thank you, dear God. And we know, dear God, you're going to continue to look after us, dear God. In Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.